Well, good morning and welcome everyone to the Vantage Point. My name is Dr. Jessica Mosley, and it is a privilege and an honor to be before you today in this inaugural episode of the Vantage Point. I am here with some amazing, phenomenal, definitely gonna tell you like it is, women. And to my right, I have Crystal, Jennifer, and Sequoia to my left. And we are the women of the Vantage Point. And let me tell you, you know what? Well, just because I could keep going on and going on, I want to let each of these ladies introduce themselves very briefly, and then we're going to talk about why we did this show. Is that okay, ladies?
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with you, Sequoia.
Okay, well, my name is Sequoia Porter. I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a youth pastor, and I have a bunch of other things I just love doing for the community, for the Lord. And I did this show because I got some things I want to say. No, I just like talking to people. I like sharing with people and encouraging people. So that's me.
That is Sequoia, and we're going to come back to Sequoia in a second. Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Rogers, wife, mom. I run a marriage ministry with my husband at the church. And I wanted to be on the Vantage Point because I wanted to be on TV. I needed to be discovered. No, just kidding.
She's not lying.
Not lying. I thought it would be a great opportunity to share. I've been through I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I think this is a great platform to share, and so I'm excited to do that.
I'm excited that you're here too, Jen.
Thank you.
Krista.
I'm Crystal Dunn. I am a wife, mom, and minister, women's director here in the city of Indianapolis. And I am here because I want to be a part of another tool that women of faith have to talk about topics we normally don't talk about. And I think that with these ladies, we will hit some great topics, and you will hear some very opinionated responses and answers to questions.
I think that's the great thing about joining in on this type of platform is because we're able to talk about so many things. I also think that when we first met one another, because some may say, well, why Crystal, Jenny, Sequoia, Jessica get together? If you could hear our conversations, I said, you know what, let's bring these conversations where other people can hear them, where other people can be blessed. Because we've all individually and collectively, we've had some conversations. And I love the fact that we can agree to disagree. Would you say that?
Definitely.
And it does not change how I feel about you or my perception of you. And that's something that I really want to talk about, is about our perceptions of one another. What was your perception of me when you first met me?
Oh, Jess owns a room.
Yeah.
When she comes into it,
Larger than life.
oh my. You just know Jessica's here.
Yep.
And she's here in all her uniqueness. And
You see the word she used?
all her personality. And I don't mean that I'm not throwing shade, but just you own the room. You just do.
I don't know.
I think what comes to mind when I think about you is just larger than life. If I had three words, it's just larger than life. There's a lot of personality, a lot of love, lot of inspiration, a lot of influence, drive like nobody I've ever seen in my life. So that's what I think about when I think about
one to know
Jess.
one. It's one of the most driven women I know. Crystal, what was your perception of me? Because I'm about to tell you my perception of you.
Oh,
I'm here for all of that.
Yes.
It's welcome. But my perception of you is a cheerleader. You have to be one of the biggest cheerleaders I know when it comes to supporting others, especially women.
Wow. That, to the heart. I'm going to do like this because I don't want to start crying. I'm a crybaby too. And that's another thing that you don't have to perceive. That is what I am. I am a crybaby. When I first met Sequoia, I was just, I don't know, I met her back in 2005. And we were kind of friends back then, And then it was just like, when I got to know her, other than being the pastor's daughter, I just thought she was an amazing girl. Like, this chick is kind of cool, She's not, and to look at her, you think she's so quiet and reserved. But this girl right here, you take Sequoia, Crystal, and Jenny to the battle with you. Do you hear me? Those are who you think. What did you think about Sequoia? Well, you've been knowing her all your life, though. So what did you think about her?
I have known her for many, many years, but what comes to mind right now, she's definitely going to bring to the show passion, word, and I think she'll surprise you with some of her responses and some of her comments.
in her facial expressions.
Yes.
And what did you think about Takoya?
I've known Takoya probably the longest in this room. Got to see her grow, but
Why do you always got to tell your age, Jenny?
I know. I'm 46. I look good for 46. I'm
You
okay
do,
with
girl.
it.
Yes, all of it.
But what the 3 words that I would use to describe Takoya would be small but fierce. She's
Yeah.
the smallest thing in the room, but she probably packs the most power. So that's what I would say.
They said big things come in small packages. So, Crystal,
Yes.
let me tell you something about Crystal, real quick. You don't see her coming, but she's coming. Okay? You do not see Crystal coming, but she's coming. I call her my silent assassinator.
And to me, she's one of the most loyal, most.
Definitely.
This I almost said chick, but this lady has walked with such grace and class, and I just hope you get to see it all.
Yeah.
I do.
And what I would say about Chris, grace under pressure. That to me describes Crystal to a T. It's just grace under pressure.
Now, we describe Jenny, on the other hand. No,
Here for it.
my friend. And I love our relationship because, you know, sometimes when you get women who have big personalities together, they can be clashing. Not to say we don't clash, but also to know that if we do clash, it's out of love. We're able to mature enough. I love what Pastor said the other day. Sometimes you just got to grow up. He's mature enough to be like, hey, okay, I ain't like that. You know, she got me straight. I'm going to tell y'all about that in another episode, how she got me straight one time. But Jenny's good people. Good people.
And because of time, I'm going to sum it up in one word. She's excellence. Everything she does is excellent.
Wow. Beautiful.
I would say high standard. No matter what she's doing, she's going to bring her A game and she's going to have a high standard.
I love that. And, you know, I think that perception is real. I think it's very, very real. I think that perception can either make or break relationships. I'm glad that we're going to get to talk about that today, right, ladies?
Yes.
On this show, because I think sometimes we judge too soon. I mean, all of it's all intertwined. Perception, judgment, discrimination. It could be all of that in one. But perception can't be a bad thing, right? So when we come back, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about perception, what it can do for your relationship, how it's good and both bad. You know, and I think my grandmother used to say it best. I'm going to trust you till you give me a reason not to trust you. So when we come back, we're gonna dive a little bit more into that. What perception really is. Stay tuned. You're watching The Vantage.
Being a foster grandparent has definitely given me a purpose in life.
I love Grandma Lydia. My favorite thing about Grandma Kara is doing a lot of fun activities.
Just been so happy, just so much more energy than being at home alone doing nothing but watching TV. It's the best part of my life.
I'm a bad student because of her. She helps me with reading sometimes.
I am so proud of the work that I do here.
Best part of being a foster grandparent volunteer, watching the light up in the kids' eyes.
Couldn't be more satisfying.
It makes a difference that you get involved with young people.
Being a foster grandparent has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me, and I'm not going to give it up.
I'm living again, and the foster grandparent did that for me.
Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Grandma Carol. Thanks, Grandma Jen, for helping me.
Welcome back to The Vantage Point. We're going to jump right into today's discussion on perception. Have you ever walked into a room or had someone else walk into the room and you look at them and in 30 seconds you know everything about them already? You've never had a conversation with them, you've never met them before, but you've already arrived at your perception. Sequoia, have you ever done that?
Done that? I mean, I might have done that, but I remember more when it was done to me. I mean, that's just the way I am, right? I've walked into. I remember I was carrying some chairs out of the gym, and if you know me, I'm not high maintenance. I'm not sedity. I'm not overly girly. I am definitely female though, but but I was carrying these chairs, and this brother walked up to me. He's like, "Oh, I didn't think you did stuff like that. You know what? Who are you talking about? Do you know me?" I mean, it's just one of those random things where you look and you think, "Oh, I know this about them, or I know that about them, so they must be some kind of way." You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I get that all the time, right? Because I just have this resting face that just is trying to figure out, what are you even really talking about? And people kind of go left with that sometimes. Because I could be absolutely not even thinking about you or what you're talking about, to be honest with you. But I do get that a lot. So I do try to work on that. But it's hard to live up to a perception that you don't even know. Nobody communicates, right? People are thinking, things about you, and you're like, I never knew that, and because they don't give you a chance to explain or to, even, confront what they're talking about, they leave with, this is how this person is, and that's it. And that's just hard to deal with. I know you get that a lot, Jess, in the business that you're in.
Oh gosh, I think sometimes, well, I do get it a lot, or they might think that I'm not qualified per se, because I'm not in the cliques. I don't do what a lot of people do to get ahead, and I'm not about to bash another woman to get ahead. Even just like with another situation that just happened with me the other day, being put on a certain platform. I'm like, well, who put you up there, God? Because I sure wasn't looking for it. I didn't ask for it. And there's just I think that perception especially among women, it has made us miss out on a lot of real relationships, great relationships, because we're always constantly judging somebody. Crystal, talk about what is happening with you a little bit with that.
So, and I'll get back to that, but one thing I wanted to add about perception, it's based off of what we see, not what we know. And that's never fair to a person. And I think we've all been in those, we've all had those experiences where we've been misinterpreted, And I think one of the things that I wanted to discuss is, why is it so popular among women? And not just women, but women in the church. This is our Christian platform, so we're not going to talk about why is it prevalent in car dealerships or nothing like that. We're going to talk about, why is this such a heavy topic in the church? Why is it when we walk into the room, we don't embrace each other like we could? Or what is it about us as women that makes us want to arrive at these conclusions that are not always fair, true, or honest? It's not discernment. It's you having your own rules. And when you size someone up or look at someone and you arrive at this decision that may or may not be true. And I think we need to talk about how we overcome that. Jenny?
So I think that's interesting. I think when you talk about why is something like that so prevalent in the church, when I came into the church at 15 years old, there was just, I felt like there's just so much I didn't know about the world and women in general. I have sisters, so I figured I know it all. I have sisters. I don't have to, But I think what's interesting is a lot of people's perceptions really is based in what they think about themselves. And sometimes I think I've been on the side where I've perceived somebody wrong, or somebody's perceived me wrong, or I felt like they perceived me wrong based on how I was feeling about myself that day, or based on how I was feeling, period. So I think that, perception, there's a lot of things that make people the way they are. People aren't just born a certain way. There's a lot that goes into why people are the way they are. And when you don't have good self-awareness and you're not honest with who you are and what you are, then you, again, think everybody's thinking certain things, and you're like, you're having these conversations in your own head, and nobody's invited, and we're all paying for it, right? And I think that happens a lot in the church, because you've got jealousies, you've got this, you've got that. And again, it happens in the world too. They just don't care as much, right?
Maybe they expect it.
And maybe they expect it, right?
What I want to do is I really want to address the elephant in the room with that. And what I mean by that is, like, when I first came into holiness, okay, because I was still raised in the church, but I wasn't raised in holiness, in that arena. I want to and make sure that I'm talking about that. So in the world, we're taught, so where I come from, we were taught that you have to look a certain way, have to act a certain way, you have to dress a certain way. Girl, you gotta, put your lashes on. I'm talking about that later. But put your lashes on, wear your hair a certain way, wear a certain amount of weave, wear a certain amount of makeup. That's just the way we were taught. Now, I started coming into the holiness church, and I don't look like them. I don't dress like them. But I still loved God. I still had a prayer life. I just didn't know all of the precepts and the commandments of God. Now, there is so when I came in, I was judged immediately. And I'm not just saying this because it's me, but I'm really probably one of the sweetest people you will ever meet. But.
If you say so yourself.
No, true.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I wasn't given a chance because I looked a certain way. And so how many times have we judged somebody because they looked a certain way? He said, I'll make you, catchers of men, fishers of men. And then they get in and then they learn the word. I had to be taught how a woman should dress in holiness. You don't just start judging a person because of how they look. So I wondered to myself, how many people have we ran away because of our perception of them or how we made them feel? I know quite a few that didn't come back. I think we was talking about this earlier. I said, thank God I had a fight in me, but everybody does it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I agree with that, but I don't think perceptions. One, I agree that church is its own culture. Church is a whole different world.
Culture you are in,
No. Church is the whole world, though. We have our whole own lingo. We have our way of saying things. It's just its own world. But I don't think all perceptions have to be negative either.
No, that was not what I was saying.
But
I don't think that either.
no, I'm just saying that because we've only addressed the negative side.
Right.
I do think that you have to give people room to grow and come as they are. I am completely for that. Like, I just believe that it matters. You just love them when they come in the door.
Yeah.
I deal with young people, and some of them I've told them. I meet them the first time. I'm like, yeah, I just love you because you're here, and they're like, okay. But so I agree that can happen, and that's a real judgmental type of thing we got to work on because you put people in a box. But I know that we're built to kind of categorize people.
All the time.
Because I'm sitting here like evaluating myself. Have I done that to people? I would say yes, I probably have.
Yeah.
There's some people I've looked at and been like, I don't really like them. Now, did I say
why?
it? No.
But why is the question?
It can be their disposition.
Yeah.
It could be the way they came across. They came across nasty or like, don't bother me. Now, I've grown out of that a lot because I recognize people may have been going through a bad day but have I ever done it? If I'm honest, yeah.
Yes.
But sometimes it's also helped me.
Yeah.
It's kind of protective.
Yeah.
To do that to yourself, to build that. I don't know.
What do you think? What do you
I
say,
think
Jenny?
I agree. I think we always look at perception as negative, but I feel like we don't ever. I feel like everything just starts with you, right? It has to start with you. I don't think people are coming for me, and I had to get to that because I know me, and I know the way I'm wired. I immediately think if you give me negative feedback, if you coming for me. That's how I'm wired. But at 46, I don't really care if you coming for me.
Oh, gosh.
I don't really care. I had to make myself care about some things because I cared about them so much that they defined who I was. They defined the way I moved. And so I had to become more confident in who I am. And that made me see people differently, that made me interact differently, and it made me be more accepting of folks that did treat me funny and they didn't know me, right? I had somebody tell me the other day, you know, we've been talking and texting me. She said, if I'd have known you was this fun, I would have tried to be your friend a long time ago. Who says that to people?
I probably would have said that.
But it is what it is, right? But I get it. I have to own the perception, some of the things that people perceive of me. If I don't put myself out there, if I don't show myself friendly, you got to own some of that stuff. But it does start with you, right? That's what I think. What do you think, Chris?
I would pick back up off of the self-awareness that you mentioned, because again, as women, one thing that I love about Dr. Jessica is she is a cheerleader for all women. You know, if you've got a project, she's gonna get behind you and say, you can do it. You know, she's really big on the collaboration. And if I jump back to the self-awareness, I think you have to know yourself. You know, do you tend to be a negative person? Do you tend to be a happy person? Do you look and expect the best out of everybody? When it comes to the church, I think we talk about how do we change that narrative, or how do we help another woman say, you know what, let me take some self-inventory, because I don't even know you, and I've already made this assessment about you.
Yeah.
And I think we have to address, why do we do that? And not just how do we do that, but how do we correct that about ourselves? And that starts with self-awareness. I know I'm a very detailed person at times, and I pay attention to the details. But I can get lost in those details and come to a conclusion that is, I made up in my mind, you know? And I'm not the only one that's done this. Have you guys ever been at a restaurant and there's a table across from you? I can make up a whole narrative.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and by the time I get through making up that narrative, I think I'm right. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah, I do it all the time. I do it with animals. You know, like you see animals, like I see 2 squirrels outside, and I'm totally making up what they're doing. Like I saw this squirrel, and he was shoving all these things in his mouth, and they weren't nuts. They were just these things off a tree. And he's putting it, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's like, baby, I got it. I got all this food for us. And then I said, he's gonna go home, and his squirrel wife is gonna be like, what the heck was that? But I'm having a ball having this whole conversation. So I do it with everybody. I make up all kinds of stuff all the time.
I have not done the animals.
I've never done that.
I've never done the animals. You're kind of on your own on that one. But I'm not the only one. I will say, I think what changed part of my ability to perceive people negatively, because I'm not stuck there. I don't still just look at people and be like, oh yeah, she thinks. It was just loving. I think you hit on something important, loving people and not always looking through. Like I get concerned about the people in my Facebook feed who are always talking about their haters. Like why?
Why everybody
so many
hating
people
on
hate
you?
Nobody hating on you.
Why? Why do you listen to that? I just, you know, I grew up. I learned some things about me, that some things are my assumptions. And I also fell in love with serving people.
Right.
And when you start to love people, you don't just come in going, I knew that's what she was doing. Or I knew that's what she was thinking.
Yeah.
You let them, they'll prove you wrong sometimes, but
Right.
you let them. You give them the room to do that.
Yeah, I think love is the driving factor.
always love.
Loving God and loving his people. You can't serve them if you don't love them. I don't know how you would even do something like that. If you don't love people and love God and give people grace to grow. Everybody's, you know, people are sitting at home making assumptions about who we are right now. Right
now.
I love
Who
it.
are
right?
these women
Who are
right
you?
now?
I think, and I think that's okay. I think, you know, when this show airs, people are going to have all kinds of thoughts. Well, she's this and she's that. But I think if you keep watching, you'll learn some different things about us. You'll learn different sides of us. And it's just about giving people grace to grow.
Thank God for grace to grow. I mean, I just see where I've come from. I know the perception that I have of myself. And like all of you alluded, it's something within. And I do believe that you cannot serve God's people if you do not have love. Because I'm telling you, I'm the girl from the hood that was messed up. You know, sometimes I have to make myself remember where God has brought me from, because my life looks totally different. I was telling my mom the other day, thank you for not giving up on me. And I'm not gonna cry today, but I'm just like, if I would have lived up to people's perception of me, I'm just like, man, I wouldn't even be sitting here because I'm not qualified. Of course, did you go to journalism school? I mean, no, I did not, but God just been busting doors down for me in the journalism world. But I feel like if we're going to perceive something about, I always ask God, was that me? I'm like you said, grow up. Was that me? Is that me, or is that what it really is? Don't let me, because somebody might be sick in their body. Somebody might be going through marital problems. Somebody might be not being able to make finances meet, really going through life problems. And the way that social media is set up, and I know we're going to talk about that soon, but the way you're competing against an illusion. It's not what you're perceiving it to be. And all of these, I don't want to get none from none of these people, but, I'm just saying, all of this stuff is making you think that it's something that it's not. Everybody's not happy every day. That's why I try to express myself. If I'm going to be on social media, I try to let you know I'm having a bad day. I'm not always happy. I'm not always on this and that. It's perception. So.
And I would just add, because you hit on something important. You talked about like perceiving yourself as a girl from Gary and just your story. And you know what? Our stories are opposite. I was born and raised in church. I am 5th generation Pentecostal Apostolic on my mama's side and 3rd on my daddy's. And I've been born in it. I've gone to church all my life. But when I started to remember myself, when I started growing up and started thinking about myself, I realized that every sin I ever did, I did by choice. Mm-hmm. To me, that makes me worse than anybody who comes in off the street.
Right.
I knew what I was doing. When I made mistakes, when I made decisions, because some of them were not mistakes.
Right.
When I made decisions
right.
to do things, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't, oh, she doesn't know.
Right.
And when I started getting that revelation about me, because sometimes church people, we have a problem. Acting like, oh, the sinner. No. You're the person who knew better.
That's true.
And I mean, there's even scripture to back that up. He that knoweth to do good and doeth it not shall be beaten with many stripes. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I started understanding, I knew better. I started understanding, girl, you better than me. I applaud you. I could have made better choices. I had better things to work with, but we ended up at the same spot.
Right.
God is good.
God is good.
God is good.
So
That's good. That's really good.
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I'll take a praise break. He's the only one. All right. You know what, Crystal? I think that this topic, perception, was really good. I know that we're winding down, ladies. I think this was a great first show to let everybody know who we are. These are the type of conversations that you will hear.
Yeah. And as we wrap up the conversation on perception, I think one of the things that helps us do it differently going forward is being humble. I don't know about you all, but life has certainly helped me be humble. So when I think of, okay, if I have been drawing my own conclusions about people without giving them the benefit of the doubt, I would go back to, like we said, it starts with you. Lord, help me to, if I'm going to meet somebody or have a perception of them, help me to do it through love. And we are super excited that you all have joined us today for our inaugural show. Ladies, aren't we excited?
Yes.
And we want you to join us every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. for more discussions like today.